I shouldn't have had all that crap in my...
I know, but they're so good. You know when he's like a DJ and he tips over all those CDs, he's like, ooh, ooh, ooh. When I heard that noise, whatever he did in the booth, that's all I thought of.
Welcome to the Immersive Lens, the podcast exploring the technologies reshaping how we live, work, and learn.
From AI and virtual reality to creative media and design, we're diving into the tools and ideas shaping our connected world.
Join us as we uncover the people and ideas driving the next wave of interactive experiences.
This is the Immersive Lens.
So Dave, how are you doing?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Good. Anything popping up in your feeds or something interesting that's...
So I got to share with you this Project Iceberg. Have you seen it?
Nope, I have not.
So Project Iceberg came out of MIT, and it's an interactive database. So they look at, and with granularity of zip codes, they look at all the different jobs and careers in those zip codes, and they tell you where the hidden AI exposure is and where you're protected, like a safe haven from AI. So for instance, I'm looking at the zip code for Canandaigua, which is where the global headquarters of the Immersive Lens is. and management is the number one by far job in the sector, followed by sales, and then also followed by business and financial. And it lists, 20 or 30 different types of jobs. And then it has a workforce exposure, and it gives you a rating. So we are 73.3% on the disruption scale out of 100. So that means that we're pretty high for being disrupted. But this site and this data also gives you all the jobs that are a safe haven, and it kind of really just, if you're into workforce development, which we are, this points a needle in the direction that perhaps we should be headed.
So wait, what's the URL on this?
The data it's not visualized. MIT didn't visualize it. I wrote a visualizer for myself so I can see it. and we'll be publishing it at our website.
Okay.
But for right now, you have to do the heavy lifting on it yourself.
Okay, and it's called what is it?
Project Iceberg.
Project Iceberg, and it's started at MIT for the data collection?
Well, they did a lot of thinking about it, and they actually teamed up with some other organizations that do like labor studies. So this is just an interesting way. They did the Python scripts and everything, so it kind of compiles everything for you. You just need a way to visualize it because the data is so rich that they can't have one single answer for it. So I kind of picked and choose the data that I wanted to look at.
Oh, that's great. And then you said you're going to put this up so we'll be able to actually check it out.
Yeah, it'll be in the show notes.
Okay, that's great. That's really cool concept. And this is all open source because it's MIT or?
It is open source and it is on MIT, yeah.
Because I don't know, because I thought MIT has their own
They have the MIT
licenses.
Yeah. They don't necessarily publish everything under the MIT license. That's a very permissive license for software. It's basically like you can do whatever you want with it, but don't knock on our door if it screws things up for you.
So if something goes wrong with the visualization, can I knock on your door, Dave? Or?
Every single piece of software I ever post has the MIT license on it. I'm indemnified. All right, so I told you something cool.
Yeah.
You tell me something cool.
So there's two meta things that I'm really interested in. The first one is Meta Sam. It's a web-based platform that I think it's just like testing right now. But if you go to like ai.meta.com/SAM, SAM, yeah. You can kind of see the research they're doing. And some of these things have already been done in Adobe products to some extent, like object selection. So what they're trying to do is make it really easy to isolate objects in a photo and then do things like create outlines, remove it. I don't know if you remember the old school like rotoscoping techniques for animation where you would have a video and you draw around the video and then go to the next frame, draw around it.
Oh.
It's what they used for Snow White back in the day to create like realistic motion.
What about that video from the 80s, that music video? Was it Take?
Oh, Radio Killed
No, take on me.
Oh, I know the song you're talking about.
But that was like animation. It looked like maybe
it's rotoscoping.
Okay.
Yes, that was rotoscoping.
Okay.
Actually, that's good. All right, you got to find out who, because now I'm all. Jeff, do you know who that was?
It was Aha.
Yeah.
Aha. Okay, take on me. Yeah, that's exactly what rotoscope. So go check out Take on Me, and you'll see what rotoscoping is. But it makes it simple, so you can upload an image and you can click on an item on the image. So like if I took a picture of this and then I clicked on this cup, all I'd have to do is click on the cup, and then it can either remove it, isolate it, or make it a 3D object.
So what practical purposes does that have for someone in your line of work?
So right now, I don't know, other than just playing with it, there's no real download mechanism or anything I can really export from because right now it's just research. But the goal would be something like for 3D would be like, oh, this is great. I need a cup that says FLCC in my 3D scene. And rather than me having to do a full 3D model of this, I could literally just click it. It creates a 3D model, and then I can download it and then place that model in my scene. And then now I don't have to model it.
Oh.
So, and again, I think this is going to evolve too.
So if I wanted to make a video game, I could turn a picture of that cup into a 3D object.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so like I know that you're doing a lot of game development.
Sure.
And so if you are, you might even be able to draw out, if you can picture an airplane.
Okay.
Or if there's a little model airplane you buy from Matchbox or something.
Much more likely to do that than draw on an airplane.
You could take a picture of it with your phone, upload it, touch it, and then it will be a 3D object that then you can integrate into your game.
That's wild. That's so magic.
But not yet.
Okay.
But I think that's the goal.
They're getting there.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely on its way, and I think they're doing different techniques. But the gist here is that it's isolating an object, and then after it isolates the object, you can do different things with it. And again, Adobe products has this. Most of the Adobe products has a rotoscoping technology and object selection, removal, and all of that stuff. But this is kind of just standalone, so you don't need an Adobe
And it
product.
puts it in the hands of like idiots like me who can't use any of those Adobe products.
So I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything, Dave.
So, can I share one more thing?
Yeah.
So I was vibe coding, and remember vibe coding is like when you type in text and you get a software out of it, and then you're like, oh, I don't like this, and you type it in and it will make the changes, whatever.
Right.
So I knew I wanted to have a YouTube video in this software, it was like a tutorial or whatever, and I didn't have the video, so I was like, for right now, to AI, for right now, just put a YouTube video in there as a placeholder, and then I'll replace it when I'm ready. And it did, and I was like, oh, that's great. So I was going through the software, and I was like, I wonder what video it put in there. And it rickrolled me. AI put in the rickroll video.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The bots have come alive, and they have a sense of humor.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what did you end up, is that what you left? Did you leave that in there?
For right now, it's the placeholder.
It's a place. So if someone watches it, they're going to get rickrolled by their professor?
Correct.
Awesome. That's a way to roll.
Yeah. To rickroll.
To rickroll. So, hey, I have a question for you, Dave.
Bring it.
The question of the day is, does size matter?
And you're talking about screens on devices, correct?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, jeez. I guess I should have clarified that.
So does size matter? I do know that in Rochester, we will be getting one of the only few IMAX screens, like true IMAX in the world. There's only like 30 true IMAX. There's like 1,500 IMAX screens, but we will be getting the true IMAX.
So what's that? What does that mean? What do you mean by true IMAX?
It's custom made by IMAX, and it can support the film and the dent and all that stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, so I think that when we talk about this screen size, I think it's been an evolution, and it's interesting because when we talk about screen size, I think we can look at it from how we consume content, how we create content, and there's two different avenues, and then there's also the passive viewing. But I just wanted to kind of kick in a little history here, and maybe you'll get some flashbacks to this stuff.
Lay it on me. And
All right.
I remember I was in college in the 1900s, last century.
Yeah.
So I had what I thought was the biggest TV ever. It was like 24 inches. And it was like a cube. Okay.
So we started with the CRT TVs, those big blocky TVs, and they had a 4:3 aspect ratio, which...
You said CRT?
Yeah.
Is that the cathode ray tube technology?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. So it's those big chunky heavy ones that you broke your back.
Yeah.
And the aspect ratio was a 4:3 aspect ratio, so the more of a square, if you can picture that, right?
Yeah, it's close to a square.
And they had the
That's
radius.
Like the width was 4 and the height was 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then they had the radius corners, so really rounded, corners to it. And so since then, there's always been this thing of, if you wanted to see something, you would go to a movie theater if you wanted to see it big, or they tried to make bigger TV screens, but the bigger the TV screens, obviously, the heavier it got. At some point, obviously, we made that transition from that CRT technology to high definition resolution, where we started changing the aspect ratio from that 4:3 to more of a TV aspect ratio of like 16:9.
That's kind of the dominant form factor today?
Yep.
Okay.
So 1080p is the full HD resolution of
1080p, that's 1080 pixels, 1080 points? What?
Yeah, 1080 pixels.
Okay. Per inch?
On the vertical.
Oh.
So the goal here is that TVs are now getting bigger with higher resolution, so smaller pixels and finer detail. So, your 1080 to 2K to 4K. And, the TV screens are getting smaller and lighter so they can get bigger.
Yeah.
And so...
it's ridiculous how cheap they are, too.
Yeah, the price is going down. And there's a lot of technologies around it, and we're not going to really necessarily talk about the technologies like OLED or anything like that.
Plasma.
But, really, the interesting thing to me is that for the longest time, we try to consume content on the largest screen possible. So we're seeing this evolution of screens that are getting bigger and bigger and lighter, but then all of a sudden something hits, and it's called a phone, and these phones become more and more powerful, and so the phones are now being used a lot for consuming the same thing we used to consume on the larger TVs, right? So if I want to watch a show, and most people now are watching shows on their phone or on their laptop even, versus...
More than over the air or cable?
Over the TV or over the screen, because obviously we have the technology now to support all these streaming services on just about any platform, right? Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to me to see that we used to push for this larger screen, and then now we're okay with the consumption of it on a smaller screen, which then led me to thinking about back in the day, we used to have to develop, and I'm going to go in my developer brain now.
Before you do, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So we went from real big to real small, but has there been like a microcosm within mobile phones where the screens got a little bit bigger for a while, and because we're like, we need a bigger cell phone, and then they went a little bit smaller, or has it always been?
Well, so now we're in that flux of sizes, and I think we'll get into that as far as devices like phones go, because obviously we'll touch on this too, but the foldables and all of that stuff are on the way. But it was interesting because as a developer, and when you were creating content for broadcast, you had predefined screen sizes and formats.
4:3.
Yeah. So it was, back in the day, it was 4:3, and then it was 480. It was like a specific
480p.
It was interlaced, or it depended on if you were doing. They were standards. They were broadcast standards. So depending on the broadcast standard, I don't want to get too technical.
Sure, but 480 is like tame by today's standards.
Yeah, that's 1080. It's equivalent to what 1080 is standard now, right? So 480 was the standard there. And Jeff, I don't know if you remember I think it was 480 by. I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot for that.
I'm checking.
All right.
my guess is 360.
360.
If it's 4:3.
It could be.
Dad, if you're listening, my math degree, I think, has paid off finally.
Yeah, but I haven't had to use that aspect ratio, obviously.
640 by 480.
Oh, 640 by 480.
Yeah, okay. So that used to be the standard resolution. And then, so when you were creating film, you would always create to that. There was one defined.
Sure, because everyone had a TV that was that size.
That was the broadcast, right? That was the broadcast standard. Then HD came out, right? And now you're creating content for these other screen sizes, these other resolutions. So now we have multiple resolutions that you have to create for. And, we deal with that almost on a daily basis. We say, should we shoot this in 4K? And it's like, well, what is it going to be displayed on? Are we just displaying it online? Because if we're displaying it online, maybe we're good with 1080. And then it's all the other factors that go into it. Storage space. Do we have storage space? Do you have a system that can edit? Yeah, 4K. All of these things that play into it. And sometimes we revert back to 1080 is good enough and we're good with 1080. Just, even though we can support 4K or 8K, we go back down to that,
Yeah, and when you when you were talking about developing, it made me think. So the year I was born, 1978, movie of the year was Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen it?
No, I have not. I'm bad.
So movies have always been 16:9 or ish widescreen. Because I remember TVs growing up were like, this is the letterbox edition or whatever. So I had my 25-inch TV in my college dorm room, 24 inches, and it was 4:3. And I enjoyed watching Deer Hunter. And this last scene, it's this really beautiful and melancholy scene. And I did not have the widescreen edition or the letterbox version, but in that movie, because everything was a wide shot, it had like all the cast members in it.
Yeah.
So they did put the black bars in the top and the bottom to make it wider. So someone had to make that editing decision, for the rest of the movie, what to chop off, because things on the left and the right weren't there.
Right.
And then someone had to say, but for this last scene, there is no negotiation. Like, it will be the letterbox version.
Yes. Right. So you have to keep that in mind when they were changing these. Yeah.
That's wild. That's like such an editorial thing. And I remember watching movies, I think it's called like Pan and Scan, where it was an unnatural camera angle because it was a square TV, square-ish, and then it would scan or like pan over so you could see what. Had you been in the theater, you would have seen that all along.
Right. Or they would do the letterboxing, right?
Yeah.
But for development, as far as web and app development, it was a similar thing. So we used to develop just for desktop computers, right?
Which were 4:3 as well.
Those were some, back in the. Let's be honest. Yes, they were all CRT monitors way back in the day, right? But then. What happened is, so it was always desktop first. Then in 2007, do you know what came out?
A phone.
Yes.
The iPhone.
The iPhone, exactly. So now there were mobile devices that had web browser capabilities.
Sure, like BlackBerry was out.
Yeah, but they were modified. I don't know if you remember this. The browsers were modified, so they weren't full true browser. So So the iPhone was the first full browser. So now what developers had to do is they had to design for both phone and desktop, but desktop was still priority.
So if I was using, say, Safari, which I think is an Apple browser, on my phone, the phone would know, hey, you're on a mobile device. And my desktop would say, oh, you're on a desktop. So it would have to serve different information or treat it differently.
Right. And when it first came out, people were just creating two versions, and it would just switch between the two versions of the site that you create or the app that you create, whatever you're creating. Obviously, there's been an evolution since then. And but then it was crazy because then in 2010, do you know what else came out?
The iPad.
Yeah. And so now all of a sudden you had another screen size.
Oh, is that not 4:3 or 16:9?
No, and it was its own custom scale size, and they had different sizes of it. And then all of a sudden we started getting ultra wide monitors releasing in around 2015. And so,
another piece of the puzzle is Apple did a great job of saying our phone is this size, developed for this size, but Android did a great job of saying, make the screens whatever size you want.
Right.
So developers for Apple had a little bit easier than developers for Android because it was kind of the Wild West out there. It still is.
Absolutely. And obviously as a developer, you had to accommodate now from what we used to have, which was one size. to all of these different sizes, format, aspect ratios. So obviously programmatically they came up with things like it's called the fluid grid, where everything is set on percentages and things shift. And there's a lot of other things that you can do. So you have one content base and everything else kind of shifts around based on.
It's like fly by wire. You design it once, but the device kind of handles it.
Exactly. And based on your code, you can hide things, display things, shift things to make it fit. So we're seeing this evolution of all of these different screen sizes. And so it's interesting to me because for a developer, a lot of times, size does matter, because we used to go from desktop first, and now the mentality is you should always develop for mobile first, and then they might look at it on a desktop. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I always say design mobile first. Both from web design and even course design. That is the gold standard, because if you can design for that particular format, then it translates very easily to other formats.
So I think that, to me, as far as development goes, it does matter. You do need to know what your end goal is, what your end user is going to use it.
That's so frustrating, because that could change tomorrow too.
Absolutely.
Right? So I know Apple has a folding screen coming out.
Yes.
And Samsung and Google both have them right now, but Samsung just announced the trifold screen.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, it's bonkers. If you look at it, it unfolds like a really thin and really big tablet.
Yeah.
So now developers, you have to think of all these things.
And for the trifold, because I have the bifold Samsung that we've been playing with, and it has to accommodate when I fold it.
Yeah.
It has to accommodate and it's very thin. Have you seen, I should bring it in, but it's very thin. It's even thinner than like a normal
cell phone.
But then you open it up and now you got twice as wide.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's interesting, because even for some of these app developments, you have to keep all of these factors in mind, right? Because if you're going to cater toward a tablet, then it should be designed for that.
Yeah.
If you're catering toward just a phone, then that's what should be the focus. And then the secondary things are other things you could support. But beyond that, now think about this. We have our watch screens, and Meta just came out with the new
the Oculus,
the glasses.
Oh, the Meta glasses from Ray-Ban.
It has a little projection for AR. So it's another thing that you have to think about designing for screen.
And a lot of that would be transparent, right?
Yes, for the
Meta glasses.
Yeah.
Because it could show you, it would project arrows if you're walking through a city.
Yes.
And it doesn't commandeer the whole screen. It's just subtle arrows.
Yeah, I think in just one eye. I haven't had a chance to see it yet or play with it, but we are planning on getting one. So we'll let you know how that is. So let me ask you something though, as far as these screens, when we're developing for a screen, what do you like? How do you like to work? Do you like to work on a small screen, 2 screens, 3 screens, 5 screens?
I've had 3 screens before.
That's
the most I've had. Plus like my iPad or whatever next to it.
Yeah.
But now I have, and that was too much. So now I have an ultra wide. It's one monitor. It's wide enough. It's wide where it's about 2 monitors width, but only 1 monitor
Is
height.
it curved?
Oh yeah.
So do you swear by the ultra
I love
curve? It. Yeah. 49?
No, I wish it's 36 inches.
36?
Yeah.
Okay. That might be a good, because otherwise you're tilting your head if it's too far.
Yep. And so that's I have 1 monitor and I can see everything, but I still use the virtual desktop so I can scroll everything over to the side. But that's a conversation for another day.
A virtual desktop?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Oh, so you have
your Mac does it where you can
keep sliding different layouts for the.
Yeah. Are you ultra wide? Are you 1 monitor? Because those Apple monitors, I know you're an Apple guy. Those Apple monitors are gorgeous.
Yeah. So I don't have one of those Apple monitors for color.
You just have a black and white one?
I just have a black and white one.
Do you really?
No. So I normally have to function with 2 monitors. But I want to come back to what I'm doing lately. Mm-hmm. But I want to ask Jeff, because Jeff does a lot of video editing and a lot of production work. What's your kind of monitor setup?
Yeah, what's your setup?
What do you like?
If I'm editing video, I like to have 2. One big one in the middle and maybe a smaller one off to the side. The one on the side would be like what it's going to look like when we're watching it. So that's usually full screen, and it's nothing in the way, right? If I'm editing in Premiere, I don't see the interface.
Yep.
And so I have a a production monitor that's off to the one side. So that's when I'm playing it. It's like a full screen program.
So you can watch the whole thing without any of the UI.
That's right.
That's cool. And do you like that setup for just about everything, or just for when you're doing editing?
I like it when I'm just using my computer, because then I can have two, like in WebEx or whatever. I can have WebEx open, and then if we're talking about the document that's in the other monitor, so I can kind of like look back and forth without anything overlapping or anything getting in the way.
Right. Okay, that's cool, because it's interesting, because I think most developers, and I think a lot of people like the dual monitor setup. I know I used to have two 24s that were butted up next to each other.
Yeah, but you get the line down the middle.
You get the line in the middle, and I'm thinking about the ultra wide, but we recently got a Vision Pro here.
That's the Apple VR AR
unit.
Yeah,
and the Quest does this too, but the thing that I love about it is that I can now use my laptop anywhere. So on a plane, and I know it looks geeky on a plane, but I have an ultra wide while you guys are just sitting there on your little phone. Okay, so don't tease me if you see me on a plane with a Vision Pro.
I also bring a portable monitor when I'm traveling.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. And interestingly, a lot of software engineers will actually take a monitor and rotate it 90 degrees, so it's portrait, not landscape. Because when you have code, you want to see all the code that goes up and down. It doesn't matter how far left and right, because you should only go like 84 characters across.
Gotcha. Right.
So I have a follow up, Paul.
Yeah.
What's your ideal monitor size?
Okay, so the cool thing about the Vision Pro is you have an option for an ultra wide. So almost, I think it was 52 curved.
Oh my gosh.
So I could wrap it all the way around me pretty much. And so I worked on that for about an hour and a half. And you know what I realized?
You're looking left and right too much?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was thinking, and it's weird because I'm so glad I did this, because in my head I was like, I'm going to save up. I'm going to get...
Because they're expensive. The 50-inch ones are over $1,000.
Or even the 49-inch.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's what I wanted to get. But in doing that, I did this a lot. And I was like...
You did like left and right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry. Yeah. You can, for those in the podcast world, I was turning my head left and right. And so I started getting like neck fatigue. And this is just a virtual monitor in front of me. But so then what I realized is that I think your size of 39 curved...
I wish it was just a little bit bigger so I could do two 16:9. I wish it was 32:9.
32, okay.
Because mine, when I have it side by side, is not quite 16:9 on either one. So I do wish that I had done that.
But so this is the power of the Vision Pro. And again, you can do this with the Quest. The Quest has which is the Meta VR headset, and you can link up to computers and do something similar. But with the Vision Pro, it allows me to be flexible. And that's why, Jeff, I asked you how you like to work, if it's the same when you're doing editing, you know what I mean, versus the regular production stuff. I like it because I can put, when I'm doing editing, the longer monitor, the more ultra wide monitor. And then when I'm doing standard production stuff, I can do it so it is smaller and it's higher. So I can bring it in front of me and just do this. But when I have a timeline, similar to code, you want it, like you said, you want it vertical or portrait. When I'm doing a timeline or editing,
you want it as wide as possible.
Yeah. So I can scrub the whole thing. I can see the whole timeline. So I like the ability and the flexibility to switch it. Now, the caveat with the Vision Pro is you have this bulky thing that gets hot.
It's not insignificantly uncomfortable.
Right. So, it's interesting to me because, it's something small that, screen size and whatnot. But I've also heard that like gamers don't like the ultra wide, that they prefer like a 24-inch for optimal performance and vision.
I wonder about that. Back in the 1900s when I was in college, one of my buddies, we did have a projector, and he's like, I can't play video games on projectors because if you're on a 10-foot screen, it's just so much longer to drag the character you're controlling all the way up or look. And I was like, oh yeah.
And I think it's also because it's peripheral. So when it's right in front of you, you can see everything versus having to have to physically turn your head. So I think it's really interesting that, something we don't necessarily think about is size and how we develop, how we consume. And I don't know, what do you consume most of your video on now? Are you on your phone, on your computer, or a TV?
So I do want to just acknowledge that no one ever complains about screen sizes anymore, which means that the designers are doing a fantastic job predicting how things will be used and putting them in the proper form factor, like you were saying, which is cool. So if you're a designer out there, congratulations. I mostly watch on a screen such as my laptop or a TV. If I'm on the treadmill or, I'll have the TV going, I'll watch it on my phone occasionally. But I do have some studies to share with you.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
There's been quite a few studies on screen sizes.
Yeah.
One of them does not come as a surprise. The smaller screen size, the more eye fatigue you have, which is shouldn't be a surprise for anyone. But what I thought was fascinating, there were two kind of cognitive byproducts to watching things on small screens. One is the smaller the display size of a screen, it causes distortions in perceptual estimates of size. So if you were watching the same video on a mobile phone and it was a video of me, you'd be like, oh, that guy's like 6 feet 5 inches.
Yeah.
But if you were watching me on a regular screen, you'd be like, that guy's like 5'10". Like you are keyed in way more. You're more attuned to size discrepancies. But the most wild thing.
Oh, hold on. I'm gonna. That happened. So back in COVID.
Sure.
Right. We saw all our students on screens.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had a big monitor at home, and so I see these, and I would think that for some reason my perception of them, like you said, was that
you have no idea, no basis of comparison.
Yeah. And then they actually came into the building, and one person was like 6 feet.
You thought they were all the same height?
Yeah, they were all the same height. But it was just interesting. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. So there's a study in 2019 that's been repeated a few different times that basically says that when you watch, for instance, a news program on a computer monitor, and they had different news stories, that heart rate and skin conductance was measured during viewing on 13-inch or wider screens, and then also 5 inches or smaller. And participants had reduced reactions and attentiveness to smaller screens, which is interesting. But the what I thought was really fascinating is there was a study in 2024 called "Are Smaller Screens Making Us More Self-Absorbed?" And because they are increasingly relied upon for access to news. In fact, I think last year was the first year news consumption was higher on mobile than it was in any other media.
Right.
So content on small screens elicits less attention and lower levels of emotional engagement, which were probably attenuated to that because of scrolling and doom scrolling.
Right.
So that's that's like two strikes against you already. And the swiping and scrolling on small screens contribute to greater psychological distancing and self-absorption. And they think it's because, and by the way, we know that this causes emotional disengagement, which contributes to loneliness and sadness and depression. But the quote that I thought was very fascinating is the sheer volume of information now available may make us feel fully informed, but often we may be actually getting disjointed pieces of reality without an overall portrait of how the pieces fit together. And the reason I think that's interesting, and basically what that means is when you watch things that are disparate and disjointed, there's no context for them.
Right.
So I just happened to finish reading Amusing Ourselves to Death by Neil Postman, which was written in the 1984, 85, so well before the internet. And he has a whole chapter called And Now This. And it's about how the news media, they would shift from story to story to story and say, now this, and they'd talk about whatever.
Yeah.
And so he identified back, 40 years ago that we were starting to decontextualize and become desensitized to information because of the way it was portrayed. But now we're seeing that not only in the flash media we have with like constant swiping, but also when it's not as immersive when you're on a big screen. It's immersive and you can make more sense of it. When it's on a small screen, your eyes aren't going all over the place because you can take it all at once, and so it's less immersive. So you are less emotionally attached to it.
That's interesting. Do you think that there's also credibility to that when we see it on our phone? Maybe there's less credibility to like the news is on the TV and there's more value to.
Oh, because that's an established.
Yeah, like I wonder if we're so used to consuming social media, which is not produced necessarily by, a group of people, that it's just people just spewing whatever their thoughts are versus, I don't know.
And almost we're so divorced from ideas and truth and reality right now, it almost doesn't matter. But I did see a study that said if you have a microphone, you are considered more of an authority. So that's why you see some people obviously we have microphones.
Yeah, we have two microphones.
There's a third one over here too.
Yeah, but it's not on camera, so they'll never know.
But you'll see influencers that either have microphones or they will pick up something like a banana and use it as a microphone, because in that thumbnail, they are conveying that they are more of an authority figure. So I don't know what to make sure. Nothing makes sense to me anymore online.
That's great. So I think just real quick, I think we should just talk about a little bit when we're talking about all these screen sizes. One of the things that we're talking about is these smaller screen sizes. And I don't know if you're aware, but Google a long time ago, when they started developing Android, they realized that we're no longer a desktop company.
Yeah.
And so they changed their logo. So they got rid of the serifs, the decorative.
Yeah, I remember the serifs.
Yeah. They're these little decorative elements that are on the font. They got rid of it and they made them all sans serifs, because sans serif fonts are easier to read on smaller screens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so.
Oh, that's why they did that?
Yeah. So this is something to think about, right? If you're designing mobile first, how big should the text be? Should you be using sans serif fonts? How do you optimize your interaction for touch versus a mouse, right? Because you can have hover states and there's tool tips and everything, but you don't have that on a digital device where it's just like touch, right?
Or right click even.
Exactly. So those are things that you should keep in mind when you're designing content for mobile. Also, how small is the object in the video? If you're doing a media production, how small are the UI elements for touch on your screen?
I see that in apps sometimes where the text is so small and I can't resize. I'm like, oh, this is awful.
Right.
Awful design.
Yeah. So usability wise, the ability to scale the text to accommodate that smaller screen. So I think is there anything else you can think of that people should think about if they're designing for a smaller screen? Or
well, I would say when you were talking about fonts, and that made me think of two different fonts. One is Lexend, which is in Google Fonts, and you can use it in Google Docs. It's designed specifically for dyslexia, and it's a sans serif font, so it's universal design. It's great for everyone. But the other font that I thought was fascinating is Sans Forgetica. It's Forgetica.
Forgetica.
It was developed by University in Melbourne, Australia. And if you look at it, it looks like 3/4 of the letter of each letter is there. Mm-hmm. And it's meant to help you remember, because you have to really engage when you read it, because you have to fill in the blanks of each letter.
Yes.
So that does not reside, I don't think, in Google Docs or Microsoft Word, but it's a font that you can install on your computer.
Oh, that's really cool. Actually, that's a great design technique, because psychologically our minds tend to close objects and shapes. So if you cut off half of a letter form, depending if it's the bottom or the top, it's a clearer, like if you cut off the top, it's tougher to understand.
Really?
The letter form.
I feel like you could do a whole podcast on design.
But so there's a lot of things around that. I'm hoping that this helped a lot of people as far as the different screen types. I know it's a pretty light topic, but I think it's really interesting to see how things have evolved as far as screens for developers, for media, for how we consume in general. I think that it's really something that will keep changing as we get devices on our heads, like glasses and all of that stuff.
And if you ever meet a designer, thank them for all the invisible labor. If people aren't complaining about the screen size or the design, that means someone did a really good job.
That's true. Well, that's all the time we have for today. My name is Paul Engin.
I'm Dave Ghidiu. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to smash that subscribe and like button so you never miss an episode.
And share it with your friends and colleagues. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and thanks for looking through the Immersive Lens with us.
Let's be careful out there. This episode was engineered by Jeff Kidd.
Recorded at Finger Lakes Community College Podcast Studios, located in beautiful Canandaigua, New York, in the heart of the Finger Lakes region, offering more than 55 degrees, certificates, micro-credentials, and workforce training programs.
Thank you to Public Relations and Communications, Marketing, and FLX AI Hub.
eager to delve into passion, discover exciting and immersive opportunities at www.flcc.edu.
As part of our mission at FLCC, we are committed to making education accessible, innovative, and aligned with the needs of both students and employers.
The views expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official position of Finger Lakes Community College.
Music by Den from Pixabay.
This is the Immersive Lens. Was that an explosion?
Is he okay? Oh my God.
I may have lifted off my seat a little bit.
And that's a wrap.
All right.
Well done.